Hey everybody, welcome back to the Vibe Guide. So this week has been good so far. Um, Although I'm recording this on Monday. Guess I should say last week was good. Um, just finding my way around Greensboro. I am still in the same hotel as you can see. So we're on week two of living in a hotel. Has its perks, has its pros and cons. Um, every time I come back, my bed is made. Love that for me. But like I like to cook. I like to, meal prep and stuff like that, which it's not so bad. I just go to like the fresh market or Whole Foods or whatever, and they have like pretty good prepared meals, but it's kind of not the same. It's just not the same. So, and I've been like working out every fucking day. So I'm like, I'm not eating junk. I'm not eating it. I refuse. So my little mini fridge is stocked up. I almost bought a cooler. I literally almost went and bought a cooler because I'm like, I gotta have the fresh fruits and veg, and I can only fit so much in a mini fridge. But I got my salads. Fresh Market does this really smart thing where they have like meat separate, like in separate containers so that you can put it on a salad. So they have like flank steak and all this stuff. So like I got that stuff in my fridge. I got my fruit. I got my hummus and my veggies for snacking, popcorn. I do have a microwave. So that's nice. I brought my glass Tupperware because what are we not doing? Everyone who listens, we're not putting plastic containers in the microwave anymore. Okay. Even if it says BPA free, we don't care. We're not doing that. I will literally have a panic attack. If I see someone doing that, I immediately just like shudder. I'm like, oh, like, can you imagine what you're putting in your body right now? Like all those chemicals that just leached into your microwaved food, girl. I can't. I don't eat with plastic utensils. I literally ate with my fingers the other day, you guys, because I refuse to use plastic utensils. And I accidentally left my lunchbox at work and it had my set of like, you know, silverware that I bought from home. So, and I didn't have any. You know what I could have done? I could have just called downstairs, but I was so hungry. So I just ate my corn with my fingers. Disgusting. I was like looking all around the room too, like what could I use as like a makeshift spoon? There was just nothing. So, you know, I went full toddler and just used my fingers and it was fine. So, yeah, it's been good. I'm a little annoyed with the living situation. I'm actually not annoyed with it, but I'm annoyed with how it went down because I'm like a proactive person and I find that the more I venture into the world professionally, the more I'm just like so on it and other people are just not. Like I know I would be an excellent manager. I just know it. It's written in the stars. It's like in my astrology, the whole thing. Like I'm really kind of built for that. Like I can manage people. I'm organized. You know what I mean? I don't let the ball drop. Rarely do I let the ball drop. So that's why I'm really good at this education position because it's a lot of moving pieces at once, and it's a lot of explaining things and making sure everyone's good and like understands and like, calendars and scheduling. And I'm good at that. So I get a little frustrated with some of my own people who are in a position of management above me. Because they take PTO sometimes and they just kind of let things just lay where they lay. And so I just put it on the company credit card another week in the hotel. Here's my company credit card. Like, you know what I mean? No direction, no, not, and I don't like that. So there will be conversations this week. Okay. I don't like being left to just hang out to dry. I'm not feeling it. So there will be conversations because y'all know how I am. I'm just a direct human being and I don't appreciate that kind of stuff. And Yeah, especially when I'm proactive. I know I'm being a little cryptic because, like, you just never know what ears this might touch. But yeah, I'm proactive. So I don't really appreciate people that, especially when I send emails and I try and be proactive, like, what would you like me to do in case of X, Y, and Z? And then just like no response. Yeah, that doesn't work for me. So a little frustrated with that. But otherwise, y'all know I love this job. 10 out of 10. The team down here is very nice. Everyone's great. So to be continued. You know what I mean? This is just week 2. So we're getting into the good stuff now. So I'm actually will be teaching this week. I'm teaching tomorrow. It seems like a really good class of students, and so I'm excited. What else has been going on? Y'all have been on Hinge now. Oh my God. I have really been trying to put some effort in. Okay. Really trying to put some effort in on my dating life because also I'm reading this book called Trust Your Timing, and it's all about like astrology and your birth chart and how to read it. And not just like your birth chart, but like compared to like where you are today, like what's in the stars for me today. Um, I think they call them like transit charts or whatever, where the planets are transiting in real time and like what that means for you in real time. So it's not like a daily horoscope, but it's more of like a like general themes for your life. And so what I've been reading and what I discovered is like now, which is so ironic because it just naturally have kind of gravitated towards dating now, whereas and it also just lines up locationally. Like I'm leaving my small town, my hometown where I wasn't dating anyone. Also, when I got back from Europe, I didn't want anyone's energy. I was not interested in dating for like the year that I got back. And I'm always like this. This is also in my astrology. And moral of the story, go get your birth chart read because it just explains so much. Like I always thought it was so weird that like I don't go from relationship to relationship, and I know a lot of people that have done that. Or people would always ask me like, "You're not dating?" Like, "Oh, I'm sure you get taken out on a million dates." That's what I always get. And I'm like, "Actually, no, I don't." But it's my own fault. Like I don't put myself out there. So I'm like, that doesn't happen for me. I'm not blaming, you know, guys or whatever, but I just don't put myself out there. So no, I don't go on dates. But it's in my like in the stars for me. Like I am not that kind of person. I am a very committed, very loyal. Like once I'm all in, I'm all in. So it takes a lot of energy out of me. So it's like dating is not my strong suit. Like kind of casually seeing people and then like especially if I'm actually interested, like I really go from like 0 to 100. Like I really do. I'm kind of like, all right, what are we doing? Are we getting married? Like what are we doing? I'm not that serious because like I don't even know if I'll ever get married. Marriage kind of like sends shivers up my spine. But I am like a very I don't like the ambiguity sometimes. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. Whereas some people enjoy it. They enjoy just like meeting a bunch of new people and like going and doing and all the things. It's not really my thing. Like I like to do it socially as like just a person out in the world, and like I'm just a curious person by nature. So I do like to meet new people, but like when it comes to like romantic things, the whole thing just kind of gives me hives. I'm just like, which I mean, who really does like dating? I mean, honestly, I don't know. I don't know, but I get in moods in life. And the astrology of it was kind of telling me like, oh, I think it was like Jupiter. My Jupiter's in my seventh house or something like that. So that's like kind of prime time for putting yourself out there, like wanting to get back into a relationship, like those kinds of things. And it's like good timing for it. So it's not like I look at my birth chart because I wish I could, but I don't know that much about astrology. I wish I could plan my life accordingly, but I'm just not that good at it. So, anyways, I just have been in a lull. And then after like the fiasco of letting somebody back in after 5 years, I was like really going back to the drawing board. I'm like, bitch, what is going on? Like, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. We're not doing this. So, yeah. Now I'm just kind of putting myself out there more. I'm on Hinge. It's been a little depressing, I'm not gonna lie. I know everyone can relate to that. Like some of these conversations are so dry. It's just like fucking, oh my God. Like, get me some water. Like I'm dehydrated, parched. Like, what the f? Like there was one guy, we're sitting there talking. I was like actually interested. Like good looking guy, whatever. And then somehow we got on the topic. He's got 3 kids. I'm like, "Ooh, 3? Okay." And the only reason why I say that because I'm totally down to date people who have kids. Like that's not like an issue for me at all, right? But he was like, I don't think I want any more. And for me, I don't have any kids. I'm like, I want kids. Like one, maybe adoption, biologically, whatever. Like I do want children. I always said that I would be okay just like being a stepmom, but like I don't think that's true. I don't feel like that. I do feel like I want like my own kid. Um, so yeah, so I was kind of bothered by that. And then when he just like kept going on with the conversation, and then he was like telling me all about like his ex-wife and like how he's pissed he's got to pay child support, but she lives in a multi-million dollar, she's building a multi-million dollar home with her new fiance. And I'm like, well, she sounds like she's fucking winning. And you're over here talking about it and you're losing. And I'm also not interested now because you keep bringing her up. So I just like stop talking. You know what? I do love that about a dating app. It's totally okay just like to ghost somebody and just like unmatch. No questions asked. Thank you. Bye. You know, just a blip in time. So yeah, couple. Then one guy was like, and then it just like skews me out sometimes. And like, there's this one guy who's like so quick with the conversation. He'll ask me like a one word question, like who? Question mark. When? Question mark. Why? Question mark. And I'm like, oh my God. And then it's like, well, when can I take you out? Uh, I don't know. Actually, I don't feel that great about it. So I just kind of left him on red. So do you guys see why I'm single? Like, I don't know if the dating app world is for me. I just don't know if it's for me. Because it's hard. This is also in my astrology. It's like I have to like my intuition is so strong that through a app, it's very hard to because you're not seeing that person and like having a social interaction and like it's hard to still get that idea or like that feeling of like yeah, this is because like I feel like like immediately on a date like this is probably a no or if it's a yes. And then the ones that are like in between, you give them a second date. You're like, well, we'll see. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't repulsed. Like, we'll try again, you know? But when you're starting out on a dating app, I just feel like it's a little harder for me. Um, and then there's some people who you do have like a decent conversation with, but then it just like leads nowhere. And I don't know, it's just hard to get a vibe. It's hard to get a read. You know, whereas like if you're out in the wild just dating, you kind of immediately get a sense. You immediately pick up on their energy, their aura, like what they're about. Like you just kind of immediately sense it. And it's not like the app. Like obviously you can go out to dinner and like get the same thing, but you know, you guys know what I'm saying. Like it's just a difference. And I just don't know if it's for me. It just kind of gives me a little bit of anxiety, you know? So anyways, to be determined. Maybe I think his name's Benny. There was a boomer. Girl, a boomer, a Benny. Oh my God. Boomer had to go immediately. Then there's like a German guy. He's a little dry as well. Then there's like a Spanish guy, and he's giving me PTSD from my ex because the English is like so broken that I'm like, I can't do that again. No way. I can't. I can't do that again. Like I'm exhausted already trying to figure out what you're trying to say. I can't do it again. I can't. So, anyways, we'll see. Like I said, you'll know I'll give you the tea if I do go on a date. I don't know, y'all, but it freaks me out a little bit. I'm more worried about Pilates. I got Pilates in an hour. I'm more worried about that. Like these dates can't be interrupting with my workouts. It's just not gonna happen. It's way more important to me. Okay. But yeah, speaking of that and speaking of dating, so I wanted to chat about karmic relationships because this um topic came up for me. And not to mention, you guys had a lot of feedback. I got a lot of DMs about the last um, episode how much you guys relate to that stuff and like enjoy the relationship chats. So I was like, you know what? I'll keep it in the same vein because it was actually really helpful to understand, to learn about karmic relationships and to have it kind of be put into my world because it was at a time where I would think I was struggling just a little bit with letting a particular person go. And once you understand what a karmic relationship can be and like how it's described and it really just like resonated. It really like hit all. I was like, "Oh God, that's me." Like, "Oh, oh, oh." And then I was able to kind of take the lesson from the relationship and let it go. And it felt a lot better. And I feel like the last relationship, what I was talking about in the last episode, which if you didn't listen, go back and listen to that. Um, I felt like it is a karmic um relationship because the way that that one kept coming back, I feel like there was like a final, like I had to beat the final boss, you know what I mean? Like, there was like one more lesson that I needed to learn, or maybe just like I almost felt like it was like a top up. Like it was like just a little reminder, like we're gonna throw this one in because, you know, you need to remember your self-worth is number one. And right now, if you let this guy back in, you're dropping it to like bottom of the barrel because this guy doesn't give a shit about you. He does not care about you. Like you are lowering yourself for somebody who is going to treat you horribly. So you got to like pop yourself back out of that one. And that one only lasted, that last time it was only like 6 days. You know what I'm saying? And before it was like 6 months. And then the toxic relationship I had before that was 2 years. So it was like little by little, I was like growing and learning all these things over the years. But karmic relationships is this idea that, and also kind of like a soul contract. So I feel like soul contract is like the umbrella. You know what I mean? Like the idea that our soul makes agreements with other souls before coming into this life because we sign up to learn lessons from people. And same, vice versa. Like they learn stuff from us, so we learn stuff from them. And I feel like a karmic relationship, like if you've ever had that someone person who comes back over and over and over, like you're kind of stuck in a loop. It's not just like coincidence, you know, because the last one that I talked about, the toxic situationship that came back around, for me, that wasn't coincidence. Um, like it wasn't just like, oh, that happened because I'm back home. It was like timelines lined up because I'd been saying no for like 4 years. Like no, 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 no. And then all of a sudden, all these little bits and pieces came together, and then boom, we hooked back up. And out of that, like I said, I just was reminded of like, okay, I was reminded yet again why I walked away a long time ago from this person. And I was reminded of everything in myself that I needed to get a top up on. You know what I mean? Like maybe the universe was like, all right, like you want the real deal thing, you want the real deal relationship. Well, listen, you still got to wrap this up because there's some loose ends here, you know? And which I was surprised. I was really surprised. That whole thing that I described in the last episode really took me by surprise. Like and him, I think, like I don't, looking back on it, I can see the lesson in it. But even those 6 days, it felt very turbulent and it felt like my whole energy was chaotic. I didn't feel good. I felt anxious, like all of these things that were just reminding me of like exactly why I left that person a long time ago and why I don't date people that make me feel that way, like why it's just not healthy, you know? And so I felt once I got out of it, I'm down in Greensboro, it's just like I've been so content, so calm, so peaceful. I'm willing to open myself up and date people because I know if I can slam the door on that and keep walking, even though we had this karmic relationship and, I'll describe a little bit more about what that entails, but because sometimes it's hard to pull away from those because they're really intense and there's a lot of chemistry, like I said before. But to know that I can walk away from that, yeah, of course it stung and it hurt and all this stuff, but like to know it's just not good for me. It's not the future. It's not for him too. Like we're not each other's person. So it's like just the fact that we can both just like walk away this time and just like end it on pretty decent terms. And like, I feel like reflecting back on it, I got the lesson. And I talked about cord cutting, like cutting the cord. So like I consciously was like, I don't want this person in my life in a romantic way ever again. Like I got the lessons. I understand. I'm cutting the cords. I did what I needed to. I grieved it the way that I needed to and like moving on. And I feel very just like crispy ass clean energy. You know what I mean? Like I'm like ready for something new. I'm ready to put myself back out here and date because I just feel stronger. I feel like any guy that's a complete stranger that tries some bullshit with me, like it's a no. You know what I mean? I have no problem saying no, no, or getting up and leaving on a date. Like I don't care anymore, you know? So I just feel like I'm at a really healthy spot as far as like letting other people into my energy. And I feel like if I didn't have that last little blip, I don't think I would have gotten a top up on my self-esteem and my self-worth and like really diving back into that, being like, all right, like there's still a little bit of work I got to do here. Like, what do we need to do? You know what I mean? And just running through that again. Cause it's like everyone thinks like healing is like this deep, dark, da 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 da. Da. No, it's like ongoing throughout your life. Little things pop up to teach you things, and hopefully you're paying attention and hopefully you make the changes because if not, you just stay in a loop all the time. And then you become a victim because you're sitting there like, well, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? Well, it's like, well, okay, you haven't done anything to change your life. Like, you haven't done anything to better your life. You haven't done anything. Like, and then the times when you are doing the work and the lessons come back in and they suck, it's like you understand that you're kind of being tested. And then if you are doing the work on yourself, and little by little by little, because that's what happened to me. What I described before is like I was in a toxic, horrible like situationship for 2 years of my life in my early 20s. Put me in therapy, the whole thing. I know I've talked about that on this podcast before, so I won't bore you with those details, but it was really bad. And I was just like 100 pounds, like you could count my ribs. I was like not eating, not sleeping. Like that person took all of my energy. Got into therapy, started changing my life, started taking accountability, started understanding that, oh, it is up to me. Oh, I can't, those people actually don't have to stay in my life. Like for some reason, that wasn't even on my radar. And that might sound crazy to some people, but like in my early 20s, just growing up, I mean, just like everything with my family, it's like, no, I actually do get to choose like who is allowed in my sphere and who is not. Like, no matter who you are walking on this earth, like you don't just get access to me just because you're X, Y, and Z. You just don't, And so it was like all this, stuff that was happening over the years in my early 20s. And then by the time I got, to where I am now, it's like the lesson still came in, right? Like I met people who were karmic relationships for me. Like that first one who did me in for 2 years, karmic relationship for sure. And then after that, like having a couple of toxic people in between that, but shortening the time, it was like, oh, okay, I'm getting it. I'm getting it. But it was super frustrating because it kept coming back around. And I was literally like screaming at the sky, like, why, God? I don't want this shit in my life. Like, why? Why do you keep sending me these fucking people? But I guess it was like up to me to send the people out of my life. And that's not always an easy thing to do. It's a very difficult thing to do sometimes, especially when there's emotion and feelings and all that kind of stuff. Like it's very difficult. And I definitely had an anxious attachment style at that point in my life. So it was extremely difficult for me just to be like, in romantic relationships, anything else, I'm like, bye. But romantic relationships, definitely had a very hard time just like cutting the cord and letting it go. And I would always kind of be wondering, like, what if, like, da 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 da, you know how it is. And then the more years and years and years that went by and the more people kept dropping in and I was able to just be like, nah, I'm good. Like, I'm good actually. It just, I feel like I've gotten a lot stronger and the point is like those karmic relationships really helped me in that area and even helped me understand that I had an anxious attachment to these people. So there's a lot that you can learn from karmic relationships. Like, um, there's no like clear cut, like, oh, this is a karmic relationship. Because sometimes I think we only know after the fact. When you're like reflecting back, maybe sometimes I feel like I'm like, oh, okay, that seemed kind of karmic. Like that seemed like it came back around with a vengeance and like a lesson to teach me. Or those like people in your life. Like I think soul contracts in general, like you make those connections with people in your life and sometimes it's a millisecond and their energy just hits you. Someone who could just walk into a room and they are so bright and their energy is electric and you never even talk to them, never meet them, never know their first name, but something about their energy, you want to emulate that, right? And then you take a piece of that little bit into your own life because you want people to feel that way when you walk into a room. Like there's all these, and that's a lesson for your soul. You know what I mean? It's a reminder to your soul. Like it spoke to you uniquely. Like that person could have walked in the same room and someone else in the room could have thought, oh my God, what an obnoxious bitch. Like, why is she smiling so big? But there was something that connected with your soul and that person's soul, even if it's just for a millisecond. Then obviously you have other, we have family, we have friends. And like when you think about all the interactions that you have with all these people throughout your life, you're like, there's no way that that's coincidence. There's no way that we're just floating around, just like whatever. Because I've met some of the most incredible people in the world, really, that have changed my life. I've ended relationships, friendships, family, and all of these really hard, painful things, but it all has been for a lesson. It's all been for me to take something from it, and to just like grow and evolve on my journey and to be a better person on my end. Um, and that's the whole point. But I think getting back to like karmic relationships, as far as like romantic, so some of the things that I notice, especially with me, is that karmic relationships can feel really magnetic. They can feel really intense. They can feel like chemistry, instant chemistry. But they formulate into this like unstable, painful, like, you know, constant emotional pain type relationship. There's always that on and off again. It's always that push and pull. It's always like, oh my God, if we could just get on the same page, this would be great. But you just can't. You just can't. Like the universe is not allowing you all to get on the same page. And it's for a reason. So stop pushing it. Stop forcing it. you know? And like in my past, I would force everything. I would force it to the end. To the end. Okay. Like I would force it so bad because there was just like anxious attachment lessons that I needed to learn, that like I have to let people go. I have to walk away, because it's tough because in a karmic relationship, you can kind of feel addicted to them, right? Even though you know that they're not right, you feel like addicted. You're like, oh my God, like I just cannot get away from this person. Like I can't stop thinking about them. Like I know that they're not good for me, but here we are. And it's just this turmoil that we put ourselves through, right? It's this repeated emotional patterns. It just can be really tumultuous and really hard on us in the moment. And sometimes they keep coming back, right? Because the lesson hasn't been learned yet. And the longer that we take, right? Like I talked about 2 years back in the day, it took 2 years for me to really learn that lesson and really be strong enough to like totally walk away and block. And I remember what was it when I was in Greece? Like all my exes were coming out the woodwork when I was in Greece. He added me on Instagram and I thought I had blocked that motherfucker. And I saw his name pop up and he added me as a friend on Instagram. Or no, he followed me because my shit was public. I immediately went in, removed his shit, blocked him. I was like, oh my God, how are you not blocked? And I just like panicked. I was like, oh my God, this person is really trying to crawl back in, like literally 7 years later. Like, but I'm like, girl, I learned the lesson. He gives me the ick now. I'm like, I got no problems being like block, delete, see ya. No problems. And if that was 7 years prior, I'd have been like, oh my God, he's reaching back out. Ah, what do I do? And I would have like fell back into that stupid fucking trap, you know? And it just would have been horrible. And it would have been the same cycle over and over and over again. So, people come back around until you learn the lesson. And I feel like, particularly with that one, the universe was like, oh, all right, she's not playing anymore. Because there wasn't an ounce of like doubt in me blocking that dude. Not an ounce of like, oh, no, nothing. Just block, bye, never again. Like, I even forgot about it till just now. But they do keep coming back until the lesson's been learned. And it's, for some people, it can feel like an energetic pull, or like you have unresolved like emotional business to handle with this person, right? Like it just feels like that's what I would say with the last one. The last toxic ex that I talked about that came back after 5 years, I did feel like that. I did feel like an energetic pull. I felt like there was unresolved emotions. I felt like there was unresolved issues. I felt like the way we left it 5 years prior, it was not on good terms. He treated me horribly. Um, it just did not end well. But yet, I mean, we are like acquaintances. We do live in a small town. We see each other. I'm sure he hears about stuff that I'm doing from mutual friends. It's the same with me. So it's like that person's kind of in the vicinity, you know? So you kind of have that unresolved energy sometimes. And so I feel like that was a big reason as to why it kind of got sucked back into, because it's kind of like, well, it's been that long. Like maybe, like I can't imagine a person hasn't grown in 5 years, you know? Like, but it is possible, ladies. Like some men they don't do a whole lot. You know what I mean? They don't grow and evolve a whole lot, some of these guys out here, which is crazy. But um yeah, sometimes they can come back in because the lesson's not learned, and that sometimes sometimes it can trick you like that. Like sometimes it can feel like, oh, there's this energy, there's this chemistry. We need to go try it one more time. So I definitely feel like in order to break the cycle, you have to recognize the pattern, not just the person, right? So it's not just about the person, it's about the pattern. You have to recognize the pattern within yourself. Like I recognized I had anxious attachment. I even went way deeper in that, and I did a whole therapy, and I went to a family therapist like who specializes in childhood and like all these things, and that was rough, y'all. That was really rough. Um but that helped me recognize a lot of the patterns, because a lot of the patterns that we do with our romantic partners, we do get that from parents a lot of the time, and that's just like basic psychology. Um so once you start to recognize, and like once you start to understand, like I actually don't want a karmic relationship anymore. Like I would really like to have a nice, healthy, grounded, loving relationship. Like you kind of got to do the work and like kind of figure out what it is about you that you're attracting these karmic relationships that keep bringing up these really heavy lessons for you to learn in your life. Um, and you guys know I'm big therapy girly over here, big therapy girly, and healers, just like healers in general. I've been like debating taking ayahuasca, like going to Costa Rica and doing ayahuasca. Maybe we'll see. I feel like I get a little scared to do something like that because I'm like my brain might never be the same, and like y'all think I'm weird now, you know what I mean? Like I might be like off the charts. But yeah, so how to break the cycle, choose differently, choose. This is also part of like just doing the work on yourself, because you have to choose love from like a whole place. You can't just choose it from your wounds. You can't practice love from your wounds, right? Because then you end up in these karmic relationships, because then if you're choosing from your wounds, then there's a lesson to be learned, and if you're choosing a relationship because you feel whole and the other person feels whole as well, it's a much different dynamic. And I know people can vouch for that. Like when you look back on your life and you dated these people, like before you met the one, or someone who was just like really your soulmate, your partner, your life, your life partner, what a different relationship that is. Like there's no screaming, there's no yelling, there's conflict, of course, but there's like always a middle ground. You always want to come to the table and calmly talk things out. And, because you love that person, like you want that person to feel good, just like they want you to feel good. And it's just a very different dynamic than something like a karmic relationship where it's like this push and pull and so frustrating and you're fighting and you're arguing and it's just like you want to love that person but you're just not there yet, like you're not healed but you can't see it, right? It's just like karmic relationships are such a bitch sometimes to deal with. um so definitely starting to choose differently for yourself, like I said too, that bumps into recognizing the pattern, because if you're recognizing the pattern, then that means you obviously want something different in life. So you're going to start choosing men or women that are different than your typical, right? Than your normal. How many times have we heard that too? Someone who got married and they're like, that person was like totally not my type. I would have never gone for that person, whatever. And then they end up marrying them. You know what I mean? Because probably like they probably experienced a bunch of karmic relationships prior to that. And then they wanted, subconsciously maybe they just fell for this other person that's totally different, but they gave them everything that they needed emotionally, physically, spiritually, like all these other things. I always think that's super interesting. I think just relationships in general are so fascinating. Like human nature, that's probably why I have a degree in psychology. Like what we do to ourselves is so funny. It's just so interesting. Another way you can break the cycle if you feel like you're in a karmic relationship is energetic rituals for closure. And like buzzword, oh my God, rituals. No, I'm not a witch. Like, oh my God. I feel like people hear the word ritual and they just like panic. Like, no. It's about, if you're religious, you can pray, you can ask for guidance. It's cord cutting for those who are in the spiritual world. It's about being intentional about letting that person go, letting that pattern go, letting that lesson go, wrapping it up in a bow and visualizing like that lesson, that person can now move on because I don't need that lesson anymore. I feel good in it. And I think, like I said about this last time with this ex that I had, this time felt very much like closure. It felt very much like I'm good. I'm not sitting here saying it wasn't painful. Like, surprisingly, it really got me. But I felt like that was good. I felt like I just had like a big release. I felt like all this emotion that I had pent up, I was able to just release it. I was able to cut those cords. And like I said, use ChatGPT, y'all. If you don't know how to do a cord cutting, ChatGPT was my best friend. Like, had me write a letter out to this person, thanking them for all the lessons that I learned. All those kinds of things. While they might sound woo woo and silly and stupid, well, guess what? You know what also sounds stupid is staying in the same fucking cycle your whole life and like dating the same idiots your whole life. Like that sounds really fucking stupid to me. So I'm gonna light a candle. I'm gonna visualize cutting some fucking cords off of me and I'm gonna keep it moving. Cause I don't want that. I don't want that bullshit kind of relationship. Like, hell no. I don't want that. And I'll do whatever, woo woo or not. You know what I'm saying? Chat GPT knows. If the AI knows, obviously there's something to it. Okay. So do the woo woo shit for real. I'm not kidding you guys. Like, if you are really stuck on somebody, do the woo woo shit. Okay. Because sometimes that shit even hits deeper than your therapy. Just a one journal prompt sometimes will send you into another universe of emotion. I remember there was one journal prompt when I was doing this a few weeks ago. And it really got me because it felt so final. It felt so, and for those that have anxious attachment, you know how that feels to like finally block somebody or whatever. And like, it's a hard, big step. So there was one journal prompt. I can't remember what it was, y'all, but I remember the emotion that came out of me. And I mean, granted, it wasn't long. It was like 10 minutes, but it was just like a huge release. And I was like, oh my God. Like the next morning I woke up, I felt so much better. I have felt so much better ever since. Hand to God. Okay. So go do the woo woo stuff. Get your affirmations, you know, do what you got to do. You don't need to tell anybody that you're doing weird shit in your bedroom. Lock the door. Tell your kids to mind their business for an hour. You know what I mean? Go draw on the walls for an hour. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. Mommy has things to do. Okay. Do what you have to do for your sanity to bring in that the partner that you want, right? Like the soul connection, the life partner. Like do what you got to do to get rid of all this other stuff, right? To get rid of to move through is more like it, the karmic relationships and really take the lessons and learn and put it into practice. So, because karmic relationships at the end of the day, they're gifts. I really do feel like that. They wake you up, they teach you boundaries, self-trust, self-esteem, self-worth, discernment. Um, they teach you so much. And so it's just wise to pay attention because if not, you're going to keep getting that in life and it's going to feel like you're banging your head against a wall and you're going to be just like I was screaming at the sky. Why do you keep sending me these motherfuckers? That's what you're going to keep doing. You know, that's what's going to happen. So, and then often, like right after a karmic relationship, like the real thing shows up. It really does. And I feel like that happened to me last time and I met my ex, Sebastian. And it was just such a lovely relationship. And it's just one of my cherished, most cherished relationships. And it was just so healthy for me at the time. Um, Even though it didn't work out, but it was like the real deal. I just like remember like being so emotional about it because I was like, oh my gosh, like this is actually how a relationship is supposed to go. And for those that have never, there's so many people in the world that say this, just like I feel like I was never mirrored what a healthy relationship should be like. My parents weren't in a healthy relationship. Wouldn't even say that with my dad and his now wife or like stepmom. I wouldn't want a relationship like that ever in my life. Like I've never been shown like a true love, like like a really nurturing, caring relationship. I would say I got glimpses of it with my mom's parents. They used to like take baths together and stuff like that. And they were like, and like, I'm talking like they were older. Like, and I was like they were in Ireland. And I was like going over as like a young kid. And I'm like, my grandparents were like taking baths together. I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. That's so fucking weird. But now like the older I got, I'm like, oh my God, that's really endearing. That's really sweet. Like they just loved each other so much. Like even in their like 70s or whatever, however old they were like still taking a bath together. Like, come on now. That is adorable. And so I'd have to say that that was like a glimpse of like what, but I wasn't around that much. Like it was like every couple years, like I was going to Ireland and like being around that. And, you also don't, as like a teenager, you're taking all that stuff for granted. You're not really, and you're not really absorbing it, especially only like once every 2 years, So when I look at my life, there's not too many sources of like really healthy, positive romantic relationships that I see. And so for me, it's just been about going on my own way and like learning it for myself. And it's been rough. It's been hard. That's also written in my astrology that relationships are they're just my Achilles heel a little bit. So, that's just my journey, but I also know that a lot of people deal with these same things and that's why I do this podcast because I'm like if somebody else is going to learn about karmic relationships, they're going to Google it, they're going to get into it because it resonates, it hits that button for you and you're like, "Oh my God, no, that's what it is. That's what I have with this guy or this girl." And it just makes it so much easier for you to let go. At least I found it so much easier to let go because I'm like, okay, okay, like this person is just here to show me something. I'm just here to learn the lesson. I gotta let them go. Like they're not the end all be all. Because sometimes we get in our head and we think, oh my God, but they might be the one. Like, how do we know? But they're not. Like, if it feels all crazy and whatever, they're not the one. It's a karmic relationship and it's just there to teach you the lesson. So get the lesson and get out, you know? So I hope this episode was helpful. I gotta go. All right. If this clock is right, I gotta go. I gotta go to Pilates at 6:15. I gotta get out of here. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful week. Um, Watch this on YouTube if you want to see me with my glasses and my sweatshirt and this obnoxious light in the background. YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Leave me a review, like all the things. I share more on TikTok than I do Instagram about the podcast, so check it out there. And yeah, love you guys. Have a great week. Bye.